So this is Benedict Cumberbatch, who is a heroin addict in London who gets a phone call to tell him his father has died and he has to go
quite wealthy guy, isn't he? I suppose he's from money. His dad's quite wealthy. He's sort of quite cut off from society, isn't he? I mean, he's got a girlfriend, but he's sleeping around with Jessica Raine as well. And it's set in the 80s.
Yeah, not worried about anything really. When he gets the phone call to tell him of his father's death, he doesn't have the sort of emotional reaction that you'd expect. He almost seems quite triumphant by it. It means he has to travel to New York to identify the body and sort out the details of his father's estate. But in the meantime, we learn more about him, about his background, that maybe his father, who everyone respects and thinks highly of, was quite a forceful character and maybe even abused him. That might come up later. But this whole episode, and it isn't indicative of the entire run, but this first one is basically Benedict Cumberbatch centric. It does have other characters in it who weave in and out of his day in both London and New York, but really it is a powerhouse performance from him, and it is him on screen dealing with being a heroin addict, dealing with the aftermath of a death, and it's just him all the time. Now, everybody I have seen discuss this, and people I've spoken to, have praised this far more than I'm about to. I can tell that it was a good performance. I can tell it must have took a lot of work for Benedict to get to that space physically and mentally. But for me, it was just a performance and not a character in a show. It was like if you saw it on stage, you would be mesmerised by it. But on
one-man show.
But on TV, I just didn't connect, and I kept looking at the timestamp, and I nearly stopped it a few times. Then I did stop it, did something else, and came back. I'm not taking anything away from the performance that Benedict gives, but for me, I didn't care at all.
No.
And although he's not the focus of at least the second episode, I believe he's not in at all. And I know I'm in the minority because everyone who's seen it has praised it, but for me it was too Sherlock-esque for one thing, with the
sort of madcappy. I mean, you missed out that he's hearing voices in his head as well. He's got like an inner monologue, voiceover, which is another sort of pet peeve of yours. A lot of it is him just trying to procure drugs on the streets of New York, and aesthetically, it does look fantastic. It is very glossy, as we said, it's Showtime, but that is almost sort of a criticism in a way, because again, you don't really connect with Patrick, despite his sort of, he's dealing with his relationship with his father, who, he goes through all these rules that his dad had and things like that, and all these people that he sees are very fond of his dad, and it's just like, well, but he said this and this and all these sort of hurtful things. And part of the problem for me, as well as you say, the performance was a bit sort of out of left field, was the fact that he was born of privilege, yet it was a sort of like woe is me type thing. It's hard to sympathise with someone who sort of has so much money, does so much drugs. You're not really given a chance to rest, and you're not given a lot of time, with the character, talking to other characters when he's not on drugs, and the sort of impetus of the scene is he's not really paying attention to what's being said to him because he's on a come down, or he's high, or that was my issue with it. But I did read the review on the website that said that the second episode is a lot less sort of hectic and is a bit more sort of chilled out. But for a first episode, there wasn't much to sort of hold on to, really. It was all Benedict Cumberbatch having a drugs trip for an hour.
He was the focus, and I just found it irritating towards the end because I wasn't invested. I was just, we're using that term again, I was watching it through a pane of glass rather than from the sidelines, and that's not how I personally enjoy TV.
I'm with you completely, Luke. I think it felt exactly the same way.
Our reviewer disagreed. You can go and read that on the website now. Patrick Melrose, 9:00 Sunday nights, or if you're really keen, 2:00 Sunday morning. to simulcast with the States.
The old Game of Thrones slot, as I call it.
Yes, exactly. On Sky Atlantic.